How Jim Abbott's success has inspired the next generation of disabled athletes.
Anytime that you can maybe take away those limitations, is a very, very good thing. And I just want kids to have the same opportunities that I have.
Every athlete has the dream of succeeding on the biggest stage, your face on a baseball card, starring as a pro. Well, for young disabled athletes, that can be a remote dream unless you have a real-life hero, a role model in the truest sense of that word. Brett Haber with the story.
Jim Abbott of the New York Yankees doesn't want to be a symbol of anything except excellence.
Swing and a miss, he got him.
But Jim Abbott is a symbol and an inspiration. He struggled this season, his second in New York, but 3 years ago he finished third in the balloting for the American League Cy Young Award. Last season, Abbott pitched the Yankees' first no-hitter in a decade.
He did it! He did it!
He became a winning pitcher in the major leagues at the age of 21, with no minor league experience and no right hand.
I don't feel like I've ever been limited, really, from anything I wanted to do. And no, I don't think I'm any more different than anybody else. I've always said that.
Basically, how I hold the glove and take the glove off.
But Abbott is distinguished by his level of compassion. He gives his time generously to the children who admire him, meeting dozens every year. Usually, he doesn't permit photographers or reporters to be present during those meetings. He doesn't want the publicity for himself, and he doesn't want the pressure on the children.
It's a thrill for me. It really is. Somebody said that charity is the most selfish thing, and I don't know who, Bill Russell or somebody like that. I agree with that sometimes. Sometimes the things you take away, you're very, very happy, and that's the most important thing.
Here in upstate New York, Jim Abbott has got plenty of fans. We're about 3.5 hours out of New York City, so this is still very much Yankees country. But here in Yorkville, New York, there is one little leaguer in particular whose passion for the Yankees, and for Jim Abbott especially, is by all accounts unsurpassed.
I like this one the best.
Josh Poirier's room is a tribute to Jim Abbott. Abbott autographed balls, Abbott trading cards, and assorted other Abbott memorabilia are just about everywhere. Like Jim Abbott, Josh has been given a strong left arm and some athletic ability, too. Also, like Jim Abbott, Josh has an impaired right arm. Josh is 10 years old and plays in Yorkville's Little League. His first interest in baseball dates back to his very first memory of seeing Jim Abbott pitch.
He was very young then. He was probably only 3 years old, and I told him, there's a guy that doesn't have a right hand at all, and he's an excellent ball player. So he was interested from that time on. We just kind of followed Jim after that.
I started watching baseball, and I saw him pitch one day when I was about 3 or 4. And I just sort of followed him and learned to pitch like him, take off the glove and put it back on really fast.
Almost since he first learned to walk, Josh has been encouraged to do everything the other kids do. His parents say growing up in the Abbott era, Josh didn't encounter any barriers to his athletic pursuits.
We told him there isn't anything that he can't do, and we never really even used the word disability or handicapped, with him. Because, like I said, he can do anything. It might take him a little bit longer, might be a little bit harder than some other people, but, he can do it.
No matter what you tell him, there's no negative at all. He's just a kid that you want to have on your team.
A pitcher and a first baseman, Josh was selected to 3 local all-star teams this summer alone. Clearly, by his example, Abbott has created new hope for youngsters like Josh. Last year, one of Josh's teachers wrote to Jim Abbott asking if Josh could meet the player at Yankee Stadium. Abbott, as usual, said yes.
What did he say to you when you saw him?
He said, try your best, and if you make a bad play, just forget about it and just keep going on.
Did he talk about the arm?
No, not really.
Didn't even make any mention of it? Kind of knew that you understood?
Mm-hmm.
Josh went home from Yankee Stadium with even more Abbott memorabilia and an indelible memory of meeting his hero.
Anytime that you can maybe take away those limitations, is a very, very good thing. And I just want kids to have the same opportunities that I have.
Because of Jim Abbott, they can also have the same dreams.
What do you want to be? What do you want to do when you grow up?
Play baseball.
Is there anything that can stop you from doing that?
No. Not that I know of.
The future for disabled athletes when Triumph of the Spirit continues.
Go! Yes, yes, yes! That is excellent, excellent running. Increasing visibility of the elite level disabled athletes, the future for these competitors may well be one of opportunity and promise. In fact, the years ahead should be as varied as the stories that we've brought you in this hour. A future with chapters evoking the remarkable spirit these athletes bring to every challenge.
Let's go. Start jogging.
You don't tease somebody just because they're in a wheelchair or they have glasses. You don't, it's because they have glasses, you don't call them four eyes or something like that, That's one of my goals, to make a camp where everybody gets along, so then the world can finally have peace.
Disabled athletes on one level exemplify sport in its purest form. Yet the challenges for these youngsters and their older counterparts, the challenges into the future are profound.
When I get older, I would want to be a Major League Baseball player because it's my favorite sport.
Mentally challenged officials may work events at next year's International Special Olympics. But for some, there's an even greater goal.
I like to officiate in the community, do high school games and college games and maybe become full-time referee so I can get paid.
Disabled athletes push not only the bounds of their training and will, but the limits of science. The advances in prosthetic equipment have been remarkable. So much so that a well-trained and focused para-athlete with state-of-the-art equipment might shortly shock the world.
I think it's right around the corner. I think the technology is going to overpass the able-bodied guy.
Is it possible? I don't know. What if Carl lost his leg? Carl Lewis, stick him on a flex foot, a couple of flex feet, and maybe he'd be doing 8-7.
The burgeoning opportunities for disabled athletes are double-edged. More competition drives the results to a higher level, but each athlete faces a reality.
It's expensive. The big races are in Australia and in Boston and Atlanta and Washington, and to get to all those, it's very expensive. So without some kind of corporate sponsorship, it's difficult to do.
Dave Lindsay competes full-time now, having taken a leave of absence from his job as a paramedic. It is a roll of the dice.
I'd like to get to a point where I can make a living out of being out on the circuit and get the sponsorships and different things to be able to afford to stay out there.
John Sikora is wondering as well, wondering if the International Paralympic Committee will change its banned drug list. In the meantime, his international basketball career is in limbo.
We all dream about playing in the Olympic Games. 1996 is just around the corner, and you lead yourself to training and to peaking at the right times, and now it's not just continuing to train and peak, but okay, what's going to happen as far as the medication? Am I going to be a candidate or not?
The modern Olympics is over 100 years old. How old is the Paralympics? We're still in an embryonic stage. Let's work on bringing it to a level and highlighting those athletes as world-class athletes the same way you would Carl Lewis and everyone else, so these kids have someone that they can look up to and realize that someday, if they train hard enough, maybe, just maybe, they can compete.